What's up, guys? This is Tassian with Cymatics, and today I'm going to walk you through how to effectively reverse engineer presets. So this is a follow-up to our recent release of our 30-day sound design guide, and which has been a huge hit lately. I mean, everyone's been downloading that. I think that had like close to 10,000 downloads in like the first couple days, which is just insane. And that basically shows us that people really want to learn the ins and outs of sound design. So one of the best, most effective ways to do that is by reverse engineering presets. Basically what reverse engineering means is we are going to go through the preset and turn things off and on one at a time to see what each individual thing inside of Serum really does. So this will help you get a better understanding of what effects are affecting the sound and what aren't, more or less that sort of thing. So today we're going to be using a project file, which we will be releasing more information on very soon. But this project is very influenced off of the Jack U song Febreze. So we've remade that lead inside of Serum, and we're going to reverse engineer that for you right now. All right, so let's get into reverse engineering this patch. So let me play you a little bit of the build up into the drop so you get the idea. And this lead one right here is going to be the synth that we're going to be reverse engineering.
Right now, pop a bean, do a line and bite down. Feeling mean with the lines that I write down. Smoke a weed, sip a wine with the lights out now. Drink a lot of liquor and I lick a lot of liquor and I lick a lot of liquor and I like loud.
All right, so yeah, really sick. Very, very close to the track Febreze, but not exactly. So, like I said, reverse engineering, we're going to take things off one at a time and figure out what really makes this sound. Let's go into Serum and really check this out. So first thing I like to do when I'm reverse engineering is take a look at everything that looks to be on and what's being used, so I can just, grasp an overall idea of what's happening in this sound. So I'm looking at this, and the sub oscillator is off, oscillator A is on, oscillator B is on, and the noise oscillator is on. Then I'm looking at my filter. The filter's on, but it doesn't seem like it's doing a ton other than rolling off the highs at around 9,000 hertz. Then I'm looking over here. This is my overall volume envelope for the entire sound. Envelope 1 controls the overall volume. So it looks like there's a little bit of attack and then a sharp decay, but it's only going down about 10 decibels. And then envelope 2 is a longer decay with the sustain all the way down. And that is controlling the wavetable position of oscillator A and oscillator B. The next, I'll go to this LFO. And if you hover your mouse over LFO 1, it'll say the destinations, coarse pitch A and coarse pitch B. So that's up here, and I clicked on that, and it says it's only moving about one value, whatever it is. I know an octave is 9, so that's moving 1. So this is probably just a vibrato, and it's being controlled by the mod wheel. So when you turn the mod wheel up, the vibrato happens, but when you have it down, there's no vibrato. So that's a really cool way to control whether the vibrato will be on or off. So right now the mod wheel is all the way down, so I know this LFO 1 is not even being used. So let's go to the effects. So we have our distortion, compressor, reverb, and EQ. And I just moved these just so this won't change the sound at all. I'm just organizing them so they're all at the top and all in order. So first we have it going into the distortion. From the distortion, it's going into the compressor. Then from the compressor, it's going into the reverb. Then from the reverb, it's going into the EQ. So it absolutely matters what order these plugins are in, because it'll definitely affect the timbre of your sound. So what I'm going to do to reverse engineer this is I'm going to take these effects off one by one, starting at the bottom, because this is the end of the chain. So I will move from the bottom to the top. So the first thing we have is an EQ, and I'm looking at the EQ, and it looks like there's just a high boost starting at around 1000 hertz. So that's probably just boosting the highs a little bit to give it a crunchier sound. And yeah, you can definitely hear a difference right away. So I'll play it a little bit with the EQ. And I'll play without the EQ. It just doesn't sound as sharp, it doesn't sound as aggressive, and this EQ is definitely helping this synth stand out in the mix. It's giving it like a high quality, like bright sound. So let's turn off the EQ. And this reverb is going to be pretty self-explanatory. The reverb is giving it its space. So the reverb is just making it sound like it's in this big room, which gives a really nice effect. It makes sound just bigger in general. And let's check out this compressor. So when you originally open up a compressor, it'll look like this. This box will not be checked. So this is just compressing all the frequencies very heavily, and just it tames dynamics, and it just gives it like a nice like fat sound. So it really squashes everything together. It squashes all the dynamics, and it really brings out the highs. And that's why when you turn this off, it's such a drastic difference. So this multi-band compression is definitely one of the more effective plugins that you'll use here. It'll really change the timbre of the sound. And then next we have this distortion, which is Linfold preset. So this distortion drive is at 16%. It just adds like a ton of grit, and it also compresses the sound a little bit. So let's play with this drive. So if you turn this up, it squishes everything, and you get this real gritty, like noisy sound. I like to play with this thing between like 10 and 20. So that's like really where you could get like a great effect without making it sound too like noisy. So we'll turn that off. So real quick, we just turned all the effects off. Now let's turn them back on, and you can hear how different it sounds. So, I mean, it makes a huge difference right there. Now let's look at our filter. Without the effects, this is the sound we have. Now let's turn this filter off. It's very, very, very subtle. I mean, I maybe can hear it, but it's just rolling off the highs on Oscillator A. It's really not doing a ton. So that's not something that's going to make or break your sound. But let's listen to this. Let's look at these two oscillators. We'll turn off Oscillator B. So that Oscillator A is giving it kind of like a nasally type sound. Let's listen to Oscillator B solid. And Oscillator B is giving like a low valley type sound. So these two like really work together well. So yeah, together they're really nice. Also, this unison right here. Usually they're at 1. But we put it at 2 just to give it a little bit of width. And when they're at 2, you definitely don't want to have this detune super high, because what that's essentially doing is you have one voice that's, you actually have two voices that aren't even the exact pitch. Like when you have 3, you can see when we're moving the detune back and forth, that one that's staying in the middle is perfectly on pitch. But when you have 2, you just have 2 voices that are completely out of pitch. So when you leave the detune pretty low, it just creates like a nice sort of stereo effect and makes the sound a little bit wider. So yeah, you don't want that detune very high with 2 voices. All right, let's look at our envelopes. Let's look at some of the movement we have. So envelope 2 is just moving the wavetable position. So let's bypass the movement and listen to it. So that's a huge difference. This sounds like you just opened up Serum and started making a melody. You know what I'm saying? This just goes to show you how how different you could make something sound with just such a subtle move as automating the wavetable position. Like, that already sounds like 10 times better than what it was. And these wavetables are great, especially the ones we make, because we make them so you're already starting out with a quality sound. So if you're just adjusting the wavetable position, you're getting a lot out of that. So that is something I definitely recommend, is playing around with this wavetable position. And this is a great example of how to do that. And then also this white noise. Let's listen to this white noise. It's barely doing anything, but it's just adding a little bit of texture. And once you get to the end, when you have the multiband compression, it will bring that out as well. It'll bring it out very nice with the highs. So that's a trick I love to do as well, is bring out this this noise, because at the very end it'll really help the sound. So yeah, that is a really in-depth way I just explained on how to reverse engineer patches. And you can do that with literally any preset that you have. And I'm sure the more and more you do it with different timbred sounds, you'll just start to get a better understanding of how sound design works. So next, I'm actually going to build this patch from scratch using the same MIDI from this track. So I'm going to get this MIDI and I'm going to remake the patch along with you. Alright guys, so let's get into making this patch from scratch. So I'm not going to go into as much detail as I did before, just because, you know, you've already heard it. I'm not going to beat it down your throats. But let's get into it and do it from the start. I took the MIDI from the drop, so this is what we're hearing now. So yeah, it sounds terrible. So let's go in, and right off the bat, I can hear 2 notes overlapping, so I'm going to turn the motto on and turn the portamento up. The reason why that's happening is because you can hear these 2 notes right here overlapping, and that's what's creating that portamento. So it's creating like a glide. So let's go in, and we're going to turn on both of our oscillators and the noise oscillator. So let's start with the noise oscillator. We're going to go to ARP white, and we're going to take this level down to here. And this first oscillator is going to be Febreze wavetable, and the second oscillator is going to be Val due to choir. So now we have... Alright, so next we are going to create our movement. So we're going to take envelope 2, and we're going to drag this to about 1.9 and take the sustain all the way down. And we're going to put this on both of the wavetable positions. And then we hear... Definitely sounding really cool so far. I mean, a lot cooler than it originally sounded, and it's just from those wavetables, which is crazy. Next thing we're going to do is go to Oscillator A's Warp and select Bend Plus, and we're going to drag that to around here. And like I said before, that just squishes the wavetable into the middle. Alright, so now we've got our basic movement right here. So now we're just going to dial in this envelope 1, which controls the volume of the overall sound. So we'll go to like 76 milliseconds. And right now it's not sounding as bad because I have no sidechain on it. Before I showed you why it was like clicking through, so because there was sidechain. But I don't have any sidechain on it right now because we're just doing the bare sound. So we'll do it to about right there. And if you are hearing a little vibrato in this MIDI patch, or in this MIDI note, there is a little bit of pitch bending that was drawn in on this last note. So that is what's giving it a little bit of pitch bending. And the range is 2 up and 2 down. All right, on oscillator B, we're going to take this up to 2 voices. And if you're wearing headphones, you can definitely hear how the sound got very wide. We're going to drag this detune down to about here. Now it's time to go into the effects. We'll turn on the distortion. And like we said before, that's going to be the linfold. We're going to take that to about 16% and leave the mix all the way up. And that just makes it like real gritty. And then we are going to take the compressor and select multiband. And we'll turn the gain up a little bit just to, because it makes it quieter, just because it's compressing everything. And then after that, we will have a reverb, and we're going to have the decay really short and the low cut really high. And this is a great tool on the reverb, because when you turn the low cut up, you don't want a ton of lows in your reverb. The reverb, you want it to be this airy space. So this is kind of EQing all the lows out of your reverb. So it'll definitely clear up space, and it'll just make the overall sound a lot cleaner. And then the last thing we're going to have is this EQ, and we're going to just turn the frequency down a little bit and turn the gain up a tiny bit. So there's that right here. So I hope you guys learned a lot. I mean, we went through a ton of stuff between reverse engineering and then actually making the patch from scratch. And you can learn a lot from doing this yourself. I definitely recommend going through some of the project files that we have and doing the same thing. So reverse engineer the patch, then save the MIDI, or just delete everything from the song and or you could just remake it right from there. But I definitely recommend reverse engineering and then remaking, so you just understand it start to finish. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I am Tassione. This is Cymatics.